it's an energy, isn't it? It's what,
Right.
if you think really, I'm giving you something, and whatever you value, you tell me what the value is that you're giving to me, and I pay that value. It's strange, isn't it, how it works out? So tell us a bit about, so I guess then once you've been through all this, that's when you wanted to do the book. Is that correct? That's when you thought, right, I'm going to write a book about this. Tell us a bit about that.
Yes. Once my career ended in financial services, I transitioned and started my own healing practice. And I've been working as a healer now for about 12 years. But a couple of years ago, working with clients, I realized and recognized the correlation. And I saw that no matter what area a client wanted assistance in, and I have an international practice, so it didn't matter where you were located in the world, somebody always wanted change in health, wealth, or relationships. And once we got down to the core of the energy of what was blocking them from having what they wanted, and change that vibration and frequency within them, say lack into abundance, or maybe frustration into pride, then what happened was their money situation always improved. And I went, wait a minute, there's something here. And then I was listening to the words and made the correlation, well, that's exactly the same language in the financial services world. And so what was happening was how we were relating to the financial world was starting to internalize to who we are. Because a lot of times with people, when we have money inflow to us, we feel happy and excited and exuberant and expansive. But when it flew out, we felt a lack, or a less than, or a not enough, or how come I don't have money today? And with that correlation, whenever a client wanted to work on something in the financial world, I would ask why, why do you want to have more money? And they would explain why. And then it always came to a relationship issue, because it was about a lifestyle they wanted with their family, or something they wanted with their children, or something maybe they wanted with their spouse. And then at the end, they would go, is that why I have this with my thyroid? So it always related back to health. So those three are interconnected every single time. And when you made a shift and change in one area, the other areas automatically change as well. And that's
is that when you thought, right, I'm gonna write a book about that?
Right. And it's Financially Fit. And so is the name of the book. And it's about living the secrets to an abundant and prosperous life. Because how many times do we say through the law of attraction, I want to feel abundant, and I want to be rich, and I want to be wealthy. And yet deep down on the core, you feel less than and not enough. Well, that is 90% of your vibrational frequency, that subconscious part. So you're sending out a frequency 90% of the time, I'm not enough, while 10% of the time consciously you're asking for more. Well, that's not in alignment. So what I do is I help people put those two things in alignment to get results 100% of the time.
Yeah. And when you're talking about money, you seem to be, you talk about it as a healthy thing to talk about money, and it's all related. I suppose you'll get quite a few skeptics that say, money's nothing, money can't make you happy. But what you're saying is, reality is it's part of it. Do you see what I mean?
Yes. There's a balance there. There absolutely is. Money cannot make you happy, but it can bring happiness to you, because it provides a means, because it's the energy currency exchange of what is going on within the world as our bartering system. Today we have what we call money. Years ago, we still had a money exchange system. Money looked a little different. It was like my cow for your pig. Or if I needed eggs and you needed wheat and we had that, we would trade. But it was still an exchange, and it still had to have been an equitable exchange, because if it wasn't, it would have been an imbalance, and then it wouldn't have worked. It's just that it's kind of hard to carry around your pig to exchange. And then the first money were these big copper Ricker things that were really, really heavy. And if you were going to buy a house, you had to pull this huge wagon of it. So it's just that it came in a different form. It's more systematized. It's lighter. You can have coins in your pocket. So the system is still the same system. It's just what we use for currency has shifted and changed over time.
Yeah. When you got into therapy, because obviously you did all those years in your financial advisor. When you got into the therapy, was it almost you felt like this was what you were meant to do? You'd almost gone through that journey and come out the other side, and therapy was, all that experience was building up for actually where you should be, and that's helping other people. Is that how you felt?
Yes, and it's very, very true to this day, because it taught me the emotional connection to the mind and the body. And what was breaking down my health was I was living in a state of anger and I didn't even know it. I thought because my marriage was less angry, of how I grew up from my household with my parents, I was doing good. But it still broke down my digestive system. And I remember after I had my second child, I was trying to release the excess weight. And a year and a half going to different gyms, trainers, diets, everything, nothing worked. But the moment after they left the house, when I uncovered what was happening, and 3-4 months went by, I quit going to the gym. I quit, dieting. I ate whatever I wanted. If I wanted brownies for dinner, I ate them. True story. I have done that. 40 pounds fell off of my body in 3 months because I was happy and not angry. So all of those things taught me the skill set that I have today. And without it, I wouldn't be here, knowing how to shift and change emotional components for people to help draw the experiences that they need to them to create what they need for them. My passion about helping people have opportunities like I didn't have, it's still there. It's by how-to method changed. And now I'm using my natural gifts, abilities, and talents in the world of money and finance than I was the learned way, do this, take this security exam, do this for the client. The how-to method wasn't my how-to method. I thought I had to do it because that was the world way, but there's other ways.
Yeah.
And that's what I teach.
It's quite scary, isn't it? How your mindset, we talk about mental health on the podcast quite a bit, and how it can affect you physically. I was in the ledger industry, did a bit of personal training, and we always used to talk about stress and how fitness and exercise can help with stress, and the way it can affect your body. And it can make you really ill. And I think a lot of people don't realize that, it can really take a toll just because you can't physically see it like a broken bone. It can still take a hell of a lot of toll on you physically and mentally, can't it?
Absolutely. And those are probably the 3 things: stress, worry, and pressure, that break down a person's health. And then other things will start coming in, like depression or anxiety, or you might have adrenal fatigue or restless leg syndrome or, and it affects everything in your life, including your sleep patterns. And if you don't get plenty of sleep at night, then of course your body's not going to repair and rejuvenate for the next day for you what you need to go do. And it just creates a vicious cycle.
Yeah. And another thing, tell me what your thoughts are on things like to medically combat it. So if you've got an issue like you did, and you were to take, say, antidepressants, so they may help you, but the root of the problem, I think you said your husband's infidelity, is not being sorted. What's your take on that? Do you think antidepressants and medication is a good thing at certain times, or do you think there's other ways around it? What's your thinking on that?
Well, during those 2 years working with the medical community, they changed my medication every 2 weeks. And it got to the point after a while that it didn't matter what they gave me, I broke out in hives. I developed an allergic reaction to anything and everything. And 2 weeks is not long enough to see if a medication is going to work or not. It is long enough to see what your side effects are. So my liver became very toxic. So I knew there had to be a different way. So that was when I went to natural healing. But I started reading books like on natural hormone balance. And then I started understanding herbs and what was going on in prescription medication. So those things are good Band-Aid wise, but it's not the root. So I found out and learned things like what science and pharmacies and stuff did was they would take the plant, they would find the most part of the plant that is needed for you for XYZ. So example, white willow bark is how they formulated aspirin. So they would take the most potent part of it, take out the rest of it, and then that would replicate into a pharmaceutical. And then they learned how to make it within the lab so they wouldn't have to go out and harvest white willow bark to get into aspirin.
Yeah.
So when you take out all of the components, you take out the rest of the pieces, so then you'll develop the different side effects because you're not taking the plant in whole. So yes, for me, the anger, the infidelity of the marriage, but what was happening on the other side was that I was breaking down the stomach lining for me to digest food. And there's a mucus lining around the stomach. In order to have a strong mucus lining, you have to have incredible amounts of B vitamins. B vitamins are found in green leafy vegetables. I wasn't eating a lot of those. And I didn't have the mucus lining. And without a mucus lining, it's very painful and you don't digest food. And B vitamins, as I've done throughout my studies, B vitamins give you energy, but vitamins are also about love. So it was about the energy of love, which corresponds to what was going on in my life around the infidelity, because there was not an energy of love in that marriage. It wasn't there. So my entire stomach broke down, and anger was the natural response. And anger is just saying something about this needs to change. So that needed to change for me, and I had to make the appropriate decisions for me. Everyone's going to have their own set of decisions. So then I was able to go back into the energy of love for me, not being in the marriage, and my stomach healed. Now, medication and all of that, there's a time and place for everything. And if that's part of your belief system and it's going to work, then it's going to work. But if it's not, it may not work for you. And for me, I spent 2 years with it not working.
Yeah, to try and find out how it,
The root was different. The root was emotional. It wasn't physical. I just had physical components from the emotions that
I suppose it's different for everybody, isn't it? And it's having your own journey and finding out, like you say, what works for you. I suppose the key is with yourself, it took so long, and I suppose that's always, everyone, of course, everyone would like to click their fingers and feel great again. Right. But I think when you're going down all these different paths, eventually it can get quite tiresome for some people. And you're like, for God's sake, I just want to feel me again. So it is an interesting one. Now, tell me about, obviously you speak now, you do a lot of speaking, don't you? You do a lot of professional speaking. Tell us a little bit about where that came about.
As I was putting together Financially Fit, I realized that, of course, you have to market your book and share it with people and get the message out there. And so I started digitally podcasting and sharing my messages because I was learning that other people can benefit. And if I can help one person, even through a podcast, then I helped one person and the world's going to be a better place. And then from there, it just started moving forward, and I got asked to keynote speak. So some of them are digitally, like how we are here on Zoom. Now here in the United States, live events are now opening up. So I was recently in Vegas, so got to share on different speaking platforms there. And coming up in October, I'm going to be going to a couple of different events. So I will be professionally speaking, not just within what I do in the program because I have a financially fit program and within the context of the book, but I'm also going to be emceeing events as the thread in between all the different speakers, keeping the event flowing. So I'm going to be doing both sides there for a while, because if I'm going to be invited to speak, I want to learn all aspects of speaking and all the different stages. And if I know what each and every one of those are, then I'm going to be a better speaker in the end.
Yeah.
So.
And there's something about it, isn't there? Getting back to being with people and actually talking to people and connecting. There is something quite special about it, isn't there? I mean, it's been a bit, I mean, it's still nice, like we're connecting now, but especially when you're giving out such a strong message and trying to help people, sometimes it can just be that little conversation between you and another person face to face that can make all the difference, can't it?
Yes. And you're in London, is that right?
The Midlands. So if you imagine the UK, I'm in the middle.
Okay. Because next March, I believe that I will be in London speaking.
Hey, send me an invite. I'll be there.
We'll be there.
Only about an hour away. This is what it's all about, and it's great connecting and saying, hold on a second, you're coming over to England. Oh yeah, you can do that, can't you? I forgot about that. Yeah. But yeah, no, that's what it's all about. So you say about coming over to London. Obviously, you're working international.
Mm-hmm.
So
yes,
you're hoping to travel a lot next year.
Oh yes, yes. I have an international healing practice. I was traveling before the pandemic. I didn't travel as much. I remember the day everything in the United States shifted and changed. It was the weekend I flew home from Brazil from teaching.
Wow, yeah.
So travel's in my nature. I have to travel. And then I love being back home. And then I love to travel again. So, yeah.
And I suppose when you're speaking to people in different countries and different races and religions, it's quite an experience, because I suppose you're learning as well. You're there to teach them, but you're learning as well.
Absolutely. And different cultures are so different to the belief systems.
Yeah.
Learn. And as a healer, I have to work within the confines of what their belief system is and their culture, whether I agree with it or not.
Yeah.
That's what they need from me. And so you learn all kinds of amazing things. I can tell you soulmates about the Middle East that I never thought were possible.
Wow, I know. I can imagine.
Their structure is set up. And you would never have thought. You wouldn't have ever have guessed.
Yeah. It's fascinating stuff. So where do you see this going in the future then? Are you just going to get the word out, keep getting the word out there, speaking to people? Are you thinking of another book? What's the future hold?
All of the above.
Oh, God.
Yes, live speaking on stages. And then, of course, people coming to the Financially Fit program that I offer periodically throughout each year. And then, of course, the Financially Fit book. And then I'm writing the second book on relationships called Authentic Love. And then we'll do the same thing. There'll be a book, there'll be programs, and then the speaking on stage. And then there'll be a third book on health. So a trilogy eventually in 5 to 6 years. But this first year, it's all about getting financially fit, living the secrets to an abundant and prosperous life.
You don't stop, do you?
Yes, you just keep going.
You love it though, don't you?
Yes, life, it should be experienced. So just keep going.
And the passion as well. It's so, when I talk to people like you, it's all about the passion. If you haven't got the passion, you wouldn't be able to do it. But I think it's fascinating what you do. And I always ask my guests for a bit of advice. So if someone's out there, maybe they're not feeling too well, or they're struggling, what bit of advice could you give, Dawna?
2 things. One, I'm going to share a mantra that I wrote during all of those difficult times. So when I talked about my health, my money being gone, and then of course my marriage ending, that was all within a 4 to 5 year time period.
Yeah.
So I ended up writing my own mantra, and it was: trust and you will see, believe and you will know, have faith, all is well. Follow your heart and spirit will lead you. So I said that often, because it's all about having the faith, the trust, and the belief, and following what's right for you in your heart, because then all the doors will open. The second thing that I will say is live the life that you love to live, and love the life that you live. So fall in love with life every single day.